What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for January 12th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition. Ran my fastest 3 miles of the year. Yes, I know we're only 12 days in, but small gains, small measurable checkpoints toward the goals. Down 9 pounds through the first 12 days of dry January. Key is going to be keeping it off once February comes, but I'm feeling good. Hopefully you're sticking with your New Year's resolutions almost 2 years in. It is a playoff Feel Good Friday. We have to wait till Monday, though. Got to watch all the games. It's Super Wild Card weekend. More on the Eagles in a little bit, but as we always do, let's start off with yesterday's recap of yesterday's question of the day. And I asked you which Philly postseason performance that did not lead to a championship is the greatest. And I left a couple off that people wrote in, and I'll get to them in a minute. But with 50% of the vote, and everybody had their own opinion, so I think a lot of it depended upon your age and your favorite team of the 4 Philly sports teams. But Bedlam at the Bank won with 50% of the vote. Hard to argue with that. That was just such a great moment when Bryce hit that home run against the Padres. Second, surprisingly, was Roy Halladay's no-hitter with 25% of the vote. And then fourth and 26, nobody voted for Wilbert Montgomery, but I completely forgot about probably, to me, the greatest, and this is the one I would have voted for, the greatest postseason performance probably of any that happened in Philly, and that was T.O.'s performance in Super Bowl 39. That would have received my vote. I had a couple people write in and talk about Ron Hextall's 1987 Stanley Cup Finals run when he won the is it the Vezina? I should know. I got to get up on my hockey. I think it's the Vezina Trophy for the MVP of the Stanley Cup Finals, and one of the few guys to do it on a losing effort, and actually the second flyer. So as always, thank you for participating in the question of the day. Bedlam of the Bank is your favorite postseason moment that did not lead to a championship. As always, call, leave a voicemail, send a text message, 267-495-8531. Answer the question of the day, or just tell me what's on your mind. Give me how you're feeling about the Eagles this weekend, the Sixers, whatever you got to do, 267-495-8531. While you're at it, go to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and subscribe. Trying to get those subscribers up over 100 because that seems to be one of the magic number milestones for YouTube and growing podcasts and growing your brand. So do me a favor, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends, and even if you're listening to the audio-only podcast, go to YouTube and just do me that solid because I know you're listening. I can see the analytics, and I know daily listenership, weekly listenership, and I know there's at least 100 people listening, probably or watching, probably more. So go hit that subscribe button, hook a brother up, and then in turn, that's going to help grow the podcast and allow to more doors to open up. While you're at YouTube, go check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. I was a guest of them for their first segment this week. Had a blast talking Eagles, talking trash about the Cowboys and Giants. It's kind of hard to talk trash against Washington recently, but we'll see who they bring in as coach. But check them out. It was a great time. They do an awesome job over there. If you're an NFC East fan, and even though I know there's some Cowboy fans that listen, some Giants fans that listen, it caters to the entire NFC East. So go check out the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. They're doing an awesome job over there. So go support them. Go check me out and see what I had to say about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts moving forward for this week's game as well as the offseason. All right, Flyers are in Minnesota tonight to play the Wild. There is more to the Gauthier story as it's coming out. He finally spoke and said there was not one specific thing that led to him not wanting to be a part of the Flyers organization. It was reoccurring issues. Hard to tell what those reoccurring issues are because the regime that I believe anyway, I think last year was Jonesy and Brière's first draft. So the regime that drafted him is no longer there. So I don't know if that played a role into it. But so far, I love what Jonesy and Danny Brière are doing. So Not really sure what Gautier was talking about, but to me, it almost kind of lends some credibility to some of the other reports out there that Kevin Hayes is in his ear telling him these things. I don't know. And the way things are going and the reaction to that, that's more of like a media against my peer. Like I'm not getting involved in that. But it just, I would love to know. He didn't get into specifics, but I want to know what those recurring issues are, considering that Briere and Jonesy have not even been in power for a year, more than a year. So I don't know. But they're in action against Minnesota tonight, looking to build on the performance from the other night. Sixers, meanwhile, are home against the Kings. Joe will not be playing. Robert Covington will not be playing. And they're starting to be a little concerning. There was a report that the knee that Joe had was still lingering from the playoffs last year. Then it came out it was the other knee. So who knows what to think. He's considered day-to-day. There's no damage or anything from what I'm hearing. And typically, if it was anybody else, it's probably like, oh, this is nothing, just load management, this, that, the other. But this is Philly, this is Joe, and there definitely raises my spidey sense a little bit that something else is going on. But we'll see. He's considered day-to-day. Nick Nurse said there's a possibility he was going to play tonight before he was ruled out. So we'll see. It's his left knee. The right knee was the one that was injured last year. So no need to be concerned yet. But the Kings come to town, one of the better teams this year so far in the West. However, the Kings have not beaten the Sixers since 2009. Hopefully they can continue that streak. Looking for Tyrese and Tobias to really step up again, Kelly Oubre. But I want to see some better defensive effort from this team. And the Kings are a good team, so it should be a fun game tonight for a Friday night. We've been blessed with some decent games, even though last week's game didn't necessarily play out the way we wanted it to. So we'll be tuning in for that and flipping back and forth between that and the Flyers. We do have some Phillies news. I have not heard if anything else happened, but they did settle and the arbitration deals and sign contracts with Jeff Hoffman, Ranger Suarez, and my all-time favorite, Edmundo Sosa, one of my favorite names to say. But they're all avoiding arbitration and under contract moving forward. The Jeff Hoffman thing was something that a lot of people were wondering what they were going to do, whether they're going to offer him a long-term deal, because during the postseason, he was probably our most consistent reliever. But good to have them all back. That leaves only Gregory Soto, and Alec Bohm with arbitration eligibility left. And from what I heard, they're set. Both sides will put in their offers, and that's where the arbiter will hear. However, in the meantime, I guess the Phillies are still able to negotiate with both of them. So I'll keep you updated as they come. But some good news on the Phillies front. It's always good to kind of get those little things out of the way. Bohm and Soto both of them should be interesting cases based on their performances last year. So I'm anxious to see how that plays out. So I've been telling you about, and Bohm was one of the guys on their site right now wearing it, but I told you about Johan Rojas and his wearing the Believe shirt with the sleeves cut off. We've seen Alec Bohm wearing it during the playoff run, during batting practice. Get your own Believe shirt. And again, the Believe shirt, if you get the right color, first of all, you can wear it for the Sixers and the Phillies. But you know what? We need to believe in this Eagles team, and I'll get more into that. But go to phillygoat.com, get your Believe t-shirt, get your Eagles gear, get your Sixers gear, Union, Flyers. I've been telling you all season to get in on the ground level for the Flyers bandwagon. But all of that is available at phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Make sure you're using the promo code and get your Believe shirt so you can believe in the Eagles, the Sixers, Flyers, and Phillies. Just believe that it can happen. All right, before we get into the Eagles news, our question of the day. Actually, I'll come back to the question of the day in a minute. I don't want to go out of order because I feel like this is important. And I'm missing something here. I'm completely missing something, and hopefully somebody can help me out here. Call or text the voice line for this. Brian Johnson got another interview request. The Tennessee Titans have requested to, or want to interview him for their head coaching position. I don't know. What am I missing? Like, is he that good of a quarterback developer that they want him to help develop Will Levis? I don't know. Like, what? Somebody explain it to me. What am I missing here? Like, are we? And again, it goes back to, are we missing the point with the players versus play calling and coaching? Is it really the execution and not the play calling? But I feel like somebody explain this to me. That's the second one now. What am I missing that other teams are seeing? That's Tennessee and that's Carolina now that want to interview him for their position. And I hate to even go here, but I know some teams do it. Is this part of the Rooney Rule? Or are they just interviewing him to check a box? And I hate to even go down that road, but from a X's and O's standpoint, I feel like we're missing something because we've done nothing but rip this dude all season, and now this is the second job interview. Like, I don't know. Somebody make it make sense, and I hate that it could be that racial component there, but I don't know, man. Like, and maybe we were too hard on him, and it's not the X's and O's, it's the actual execution, because we know that Jalen and AJ, if they did that in that moment and ad-libbed that play and changed the play, how many other plays have they changed? And we've seen Jalen miss checkdowns that were wide open. So maybe some of those screens, maybe I don't know. And there's way more to this story, but somebody help make it make sense, because I'm not understanding after all of the vitriol that we've spewed at Brian Johnson all year. It's for him to get 2 interview requests now. We're certainly missing something. So somebody make it make sense to me. 267-495-8531. Let me know what your thoughts are. And maybe you have some inside information. I don't know what we're missing here, but we'll see. Hopefully he's not focused on interviews a la Jonathan Gannon, and he's focused on getting a game plan together for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Todd Bowles' blitz. More on that in a minute. As far as the injury updates, AJ and Reed Blankenship did not practice. AJ, I don't know if that's an issue yet. It could be just resting him and making sure he's prepared for Monday night. Reed is a different situation. It's a groin injury that he hurt, I guess, on the interception last week. And that's not a good situation for us, especially with Sidney Brown out. It kind of leaves the Eagles short at safety. So hopefully it's more, again, this is more of a precautionary thing. They held both of them out, but they'll be good for Monday night. With them playing on Monday night, it seems like we've had a lot of Monday night games. Usually Friday is the telltale sign of what a guy's availability is going to be, but since they play Monday night, it won't be till tomorrow's practice, so we'll have to wait till Sunday to have a clearer picture of what's going on. Jalen Hurts was limited. Britton Covey was limited, which it's an underrated thing, and it could, not that the defense has been forcing many punts, so it hasn't mattered recently, but if for some reason our defense decides to play and stop, and Baker Mayfield maybe stops himself, not having Britt Covey there might be an issue for the punt return game. But Jalen Hurts, I don't know. I'm concerned about this. Nobody else seems to be making a big deal about it, but he hasn't thrown since that game last week. And he even acknowledged that it wasn't a good idea for him to go back out there and continue. And I brought it up on the Clashing Conferences, but everybody seems like, no, it's not That finger looked nasty. It looked like it was dislocated in 2 spots the way it was bent. So I'm concerned about it. Nobody else seems to be, but the fact that he hasn't thrown yet, he's saying the right thing. I feel like the best thing I saw yesterday was somebody said it's like he is like an Chat APT or AGT, whatever the AI program is. Feels like that's what he speaks in. So you're not getting much out of him. But I don't know. I'm more concerned about it again than anybody else. But maybe because of the way, maybe it plays into what the Eagles need to do and hopefully what Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni are game planning. Todd Bowles likes to blitz. He always has. Temple guy. So the one way to combat the blitz is run right, just completely run. So whether it's quarterback draws, quick handoffs to Swift, I don't know. Maybe this is playing right into the cards that we want. I think Tampa Bay blitzes the third most in the league, and they blitzed a lot the first meeting against the Eagles. So I don't know, but something to keep an eye on. I'm concerned about it. Again, nobody else seems to be worried, but that finger looked jacked up. It might be in place, but fingers aren't supposed to bend that way. And like I said the other day, he made Brian Baldinger's finger look completely normal. But on a good news front, Devontae, Darius Slay, and DeAndre Swift all for full participants in practice. Devontae basically said, I would have played last week if it was the playoffs. You know I'm going to be ready. So I look for him to hopefully have a big game. He seemed like he was pretty fired up. And the mood around the building seems good. Nick Sirianni had them practice in full pads yesterday. Maybe he listened to what Javon Hargrave said and really has taken it to heart that he needs to really toughen it up, which, again, I really think that it might be he might have bought himself some time. Darius Slay, I don't know what to think of him. He was like, it might be, and he said this jokingly. I finally saw the video of it. But, man, come on. He said it might be good that we're hitting the road. They get to booing fast in Phillies. We don't need those boos. And come on, dude. Like, we boo because you suck. Like, if you play well, and we know you don't deserve to get booed because you're the greatest thing, and like your numbers are great. You're playing well, even though the rest of the team is shit. So we know we're not booing you. We're booing everybody else. But we boo because you're not doing what you should be doing. And that, my friends, leads us to today's question of the day. Do the fans have the right to boo this team? And how quick should they boo? And like, just tell me what you think. Like, do we have the right to boo this team? Like, he makes it seem like we're too quick, and like, I don't know. Are we too fast to boo? I don't think so. I think, and it came up, and again, I don't want to spoil everything, but watch the Clashing Conferences because some things came up about Philly fans being impatient, and I feel like I don't necessarily think it's impatient as much as our expectations. We have high expectations, and if you're not going to hit our expectations, Slay, because I know you don't like Darius. Only your grandmom calls you Darius, according to Chris Collinsworth. But if you don't meet our expectations, of course we're going to boo. We pay, like, those tickets are not cheap, dude. So you're damn right. I expect to see a quality product for the money I pay for those tickets. And if you're not hitting those expectations, damn it, I'm going to boo you. So, yeah, maybe it is good you're hitting the road. But let me know, 267-495-8531. Do we have the right to boo quickly in Philadelphia? And not even Philadelphia, anywhere. Do fans have the right to boo? Like, and Slay, I'm sorry, you're out of line, man. Like, we've booed players much better than you for saying stuff way less than that. So, Jimmy Rollins used to get it all the time when he used to talk shit on the fans. So, first thing I do, if God forbid we have a home game and somehow the NFC Championship game falls and we play either the Rams or Packers at Lincoln Financial Field in a couple weeks, I'm going to boo you just because. So be ready. All right, finally, last thing for the Eagles. They are wearing the white jerseys, which I love that. The internet's great for this. 4-6 all-time in the playoffs in the white jerseys during the Midnight Green era. So there you go. Take that for however you want to take it. But again, let me know, do we boo too much? And then, or do we have the right to boo is the question of the day. And let me know this Brian Johnson thing. I feel like there's way more to it than that. 267-495-8531. All right, today, sticking with the Eagles-Buccaneers theme, we're going to go back to 2002. And on this day in 2002, it was the NFC Wild Card game for the 2001 season. Donovan McNabb threw 2 touchdown passes, one to James Thrash, one to Chad Lewis. Corral Buckholder rushed for 55 yards, scored another touchdown, but it was all the defense as they intercepted Brad Johnson 4 times, including 2 by Damon Moore, who returned 59 yards for a touchdown, as the Eagles defeated the Buccaneers 31-9 in that wild card game. It was the only game since Andy Reid became the head coach of the Eagles back in, I guess his first year was 99. Only playoff game since 1999 that I have missed at a home playoff game that I have missed. I'm not sure why, as a group, this was our first year as ticket holders, why we didn't get playoff tickets that year. Just one of those things that happened. But it was the only playoff game since 1999 that I have missed. I was in attendance for the 2000 wildcard game against Tampa that led to us getting season tickets. But I digress. This was the second straight year that the Eagles knocked the Buccaneers out of the playoffs. This particular loss got Tony Dungy fired. They brought in, why can't I think of his name? Chucky. Coached the Raiders, coached the Buccaneers, used to be our offensive coordinator. I cannot think of his name. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Brought in Chucky. And the third time, we all know how the third time Tampa Bay came to Philly, how that worked out. But that 2001 team was fun. They went to Chicago the following week and beat the Bears before falling to the St. Louis Rams in the NFC Championship game. But on this day in 2002, the Eagles beat the Buccaneers 31-9 in the NFC Wild Card game. Donovan throwing for 2 touchdown passes. Damon Moore returning an interception, 59 yards, and the defense just really shut down the Eagles or the Buccaneers offense and Brad Johnson. They would get their revenge when, why can I not think of this dude's name? Chucky came back in to coach them and led them to the Super Bowl the next year. All right, finally, our free agent who had a fresh start in Philly today is Jonathan Papelbon. Now, I debated this one. I thought long and hard. I had a backup for this, but the more I thought about it, I figured I would go for it. He came in to Philadelphia. He was the Red Sox is the Red Sox all-time save leader. He was a World Series champion in 2007, but then he struggled near the end of his time with the Red Sox and almost wore out his welcome. Surprise, surprise. But signed a 4-year, $50 million deal with a 5th-year option. At the time, it was the largest contract ever signed by a reliever. First season in Philly was 2012. Led the league in games pitched for a reliever. 38 saves, 2.44 ERA. Not a bad start. Struggled in 2013. Did finish out the whole season, but said he was kind of hurt. His velocity was off. Had the lowest save output of his career. But then after that season, this is when things got interesting with Jonathan Papelbon. In 2014, he was part of a combined no-hitter with 3 other pitchers against the Braves in September of 2014. And then 2 weeks later, he blew a save, was booed by the crowd, grabbed his crotch, and basically, as he was coming off the mound, basically a nice little FU to the Philly fans, was ejected from the game. And then it was a shit show from there. In 2015, he was arguing with and had to be restrained from Howard Eskin. Again, probably something that a lot of players wish they would have done, but you can't go after the king like that. And then he was traded to the Nationals for Nick Pivetta. But in his 3.5, and quickly got into a fight with Bryce Harper. There's another Philly connection with the Nationals, if you remember that. I think that was it might have been during the pennant run or in the playoffs. They almost came to blows in the dugout for the Nationals. But 3.5 years in Philly, 123 saves, 15 blown. He's the Phillies' all-time save leader, believe it or not, with 123 saves. So Jonathan Papelbon, Phillies all-time save leader, as well as the Red Sox. Only pitched here for 3.5 years, but that is the life of a closer in the major leagues. And again, I debated putting him in there, but I think because he became the Phillies all-time save leader and he had such a good season in 2012, I figured that was sort of a fresh start. Because like I said, he had worn out his welcome. He had blown some saves in the playoffs that previous season for the Red Sox. So Jonathan Papelbon is our free agent who had a fresh start in Philly, but he quickly wore out his welcome, just like he did in Boston and eventually did in Washington. On this day in 2012, the NFC Wild Card game happened. It was the Eagles beating the Buccaneers 31-9, leading to Tony Dungy to getting fired. And I still cannot think of the coach's name. Like, did you ever have that happen where your mind just goes blank? It'll come to me. I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. John Gruden. Oh, my goodness. John Gruden. This game led to the Buccaneers firing Tony Dungy and hiring John Gruden, who came into Philly and beat the Eagles the following year. Whew. Finally, I got that. All right. Be sure to call or text 267-495-8531. Let me know your answer to the question of the day. Do Philly fans have the right to boo this Eagles team despite coming off of the Super Bowl year? Let me know your thoughts. And also, let me know the deal with Brian Johnson. I feel like I'm missing something. So let me know. We'll have updates on the Sixers and Flyers tomorrow. Hopefully we have some good news on the Eagles injury front. I'm very skeptical of how, if he does play, how effective Jalen Hurts is going to be, but maybe you can calm my nerves. Be sure to check out my boys at Clashing Conferences. Had such a good time on the show this week. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Let's get to that 100 subscriber barrier. Enjoy your Friday. It's going to be another rainy one tonight, so be safe if you're out traveling. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.